She was 10 years old, barefoot in the December snow, holding a crying baby tight against her chest. Her fingers were numb, her arms shaking, her breath coming out in white clouds. Each step felt heavier than the last, but stopping was not an option. Stopping meant the baby would grow quiet, and quiet babies did not survive. Her name was Grace. The baby was her sister. She had been walking for days, through fields and frozen roads, past houses with dark windows and locked doors. Every knock had brought either silence or anger. Every mile had taken something from her. Ahead she saw a ranch, old wooden fences leaning like tired men, a barn dark with age, and a small house with smoke rising from the chimney. Smoke meant fire. Fire meant warmth. Warmth meant one more chance. Grace whispered something that sounded like a prayer, not asking for safety, not asking for comfort, only asking for the baby to live. She reached the gate and fell to her knees. The baby whimpered weak and thin. Grace held her closer, pressing her face against the tiny head. Please, she whispered. Please, just one door. The cowboy opened the door slowly. He was tall, broad shoulders, worn down by years of hard work and harder loss. His hair was streaked with gray, his eyes tired and distant. He had not expected to see a child. He had not expected to feel anything. What are you doing out here? He asked. Grace lifted her chin. Sir, I am looking for work. The cowboy stared. Work, he repeated. You are just a child. I can work, she said. I can clean, cook, feed animals, do anything you need. I do not want charity. I want to earn. His eyes dropped to the baby, the small, still body wrapped in cloth. How old? 5 months, Grace said. She has not eaten since yesterday. Something shifted in his face. A crack in a wall he had built around his heart. Where is your family? He asked. Gone, Grace answered. All of them. The wind howled across the yard. The baby made a soft sound barely there. Grace tightened her hold. Please, sir, she said. Just one night. I will work harder than anyone. The cowboy looked past her at the snow, at the empty land, at the silence that had lived with him for years. Then he looked back at her, at the eyes too old for her face, at the courage standing in the cold. He stepped aside. Come in, he said. Grace did not hesitate. She crossed the doorway into warmth. Her legs gave out, and she fell to her knees, still holding the baby. The cowboy closed the door behind them, and without knowing it, he opened something else that had been shut for a very long time. The warmth of the house felt unreal, like stepping into a dream she did not trust. Grace knelt on the wooden floor, holding her sister close, afraid that if she stood, the moment might disappear. The baby stirred, weak but alive. That alone felt like a miracle. The cowboy moved quickly. He filled a pot with water, set over the fire, and brought out an old bottle and a cloth. His hands were rough but careful, like he remembered how to do this, even if he had not done it in years. Sit there, he said. Do not move. Grace obeyed. Her arms trembled from holding the baby for so long. When he returned with warm milk, she watched every move, afraid to blink. You know how to feed her? He asked. Yes, sir, Grace said. I have done it since she was born. She dipped the cloth and brought it gently to the baby's mouth. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the baby latched on weakly. Then stronger. Grace felt tears running down her face. She could not stop them. She is eating, she whispered. She is really eating. The cowboy said nothing. He just stood there watching. Something tight in his chest loosened without his permission. When the baby finally slept real sleep with steady breath and warm color, Grace looked up. Thank you, sir, she said. I will work hard. I promise. The cowboy cleared his throat. Name is Caleb, he said. You can stop calling me sir. Grace nodded. Thank you, Caleb. He brought out bread and stew and set it in front of her. Eat slow. Grace took a small bite, then another. The food filled her in a way she had not felt since before winter came. When did you last eat? Caleb asked. She thought for a moment. Yesterday, maybe. I do not remember. He shook his head. You should not have survived that walk. Grace looked down at her sister. But we did. Caleb leaned back against the counter. I lost my wife 3 winters ago, and my son left after that. House has been empty since. Grace understood without asking. She had seen that look before. In mirrors. In people who had lost too much. "I can help here," she said softly. "I did not take much space." He looked at her, then at the baby. Then toward the back hallway. "There's a room back there," he said. "It used to be my son's. You can stay tonight." Grace felt her chest tighten. "Just tonight. We will see tomorrow," he replied. That was enough. More than enough. That night, Grace laid the baby on the bed and sat beside her, listening to the quiet, not the dangerous quiet of the road, but a quiet that felt safe. Down the hall, Caleb sat by the fire staring at the flames. He had let strangers in. He had broken his own rules. But for the first time in years, the house did not feel so empty. Morning light slipped through the window, pale and cold. Grace woke before the fire had fully died. Her body moved on habit alone. She checked her sister first. The baby slept warm and quiet. The good kind of quiet. Grace exhaled slowly. She had not realized how tightly she had been holding her breath. She slid from the bed, careful not to make noise. Her feet touched the floor, and pain shot up her legs. Feeling had returned. That meant healing. Or suffering. She accepted both. In the kitchen, Caleb was already awake. Coffee steamed in a chipped mug. He watched her enter like he had not expected her to actually stay. "You should rest," he said. "I rested," she replied. "Now I work." He frowned. "Your feet. They will carry me," she said. He sighed and motioned toward the table. "Sit and eat first." She obeyed but barely waited before standing again. "Tell me what needs doing." Caleb hesitated, then handed her a broom. "The floor needs sweeping, and the shirts need mending." She smiled at that. Mending, she knew. As the hours passed, the house changed. Dust lifted. Windows cleared. Fabric became whole again. Caleb noticed everything. The quiet humming she did while she worked. The way she spoke to the baby even when asleep. The way the house felt less heavy. "You do this like you belong here," he said. Grace paused. "Belonging is something you earn," she replied. That hit him harder than he expected. By midday, her feet throbbed and her hands shook. But she did not slow. Caleb finally stopped her. "Enough," he said. "You will break yourself." She looked at him surprised. No one had ever stopped her before. "I need to earn staying," she said. Caleb knelt in front of her suddenly, his voice low. "You earned it the moment you walked through that door." Grace blinked fast, holding herself together. That afternoon, he showed her the animals. She learned each routine, each sound, each task. The horses trusted her quickly. Caleb watched one lean its head into her shoulder. "Animals know," he muttered. That night they ate together. Not strangers. Not family. Something in between. "Where would you go if you did not stay?" he asked. Grace thought, "I do not know, but I would keep walking." Caleb nodded slowly. "You can stop walking here." Her eyes lifted to his. "Really, we will figure out together," he said. Grace held her sister closer. For the first time since winter began, she allowed herself to believe that tomorrow might not be about survival. And Caleb sat by the fire later that night, listening to two soft breaths in the back room, wondering when exactly his empty house had become a home again. Days passed quietly at the ranch. Not easy days, but steady ones. Grace learned the rhythm of the land. Morning chores, feeding animals, hauling water. Midday cooking, cleaning, mending. Evenings by the fire with her sister asleep nearby. Her feet healed slowly. The red faded to pink. The pain softened. But the memory of cold never left her. Caleb watched her work. Watched the way she never wasted motion. Never complained. Never asked for more than what was given. One evening as the sun dropped low, he spoke. "You do not act like a child." Grace did not look up. "Children do not keep babies alive," she said. That answer stayed with him. A week later, a wagon appeared at the edge of the road, dust rising behind it. Grace felt fear tighten in her chest. Fear learned from experience. Caleb noticed immediately. "Stay inside," he said. But Grace stepped onto the porch anyway. The woman climbing down wore a sharp coat and sharper eyes. "Grace," she said. "There you are." Caleb stepped between them. Who are you? The woman lifted her chin. Prudence Whitman. Her aunt. Grace felt the old weight return. You sent us away, she said. I did what I had to, the woman replied. Now I am here to take you back. Caleb stood firm. You are not taking anyone. She laughed cold. You have no claim. They are blood. Grace spoke before fear could stop her. Blood does not mean care. The woman sneered. You are a child. You do not decide. Caleb placed a hand on Grace's shoulder. She decides more than you ever let her. Prudence narrowed her eyes. This is not over. She climbed back into the wagon, leaving silence behind. That night, Grace did not sleep. Caleb sat beside her. You are not leaving, he said. I do not want, she whispered. Then you will not, he replied. Something settled between them. Not fear, not doubt, resolve. The days after the woman came were heavy. Not loud, not violent, just heavy like the air before a storm. Grace worked harder than ever, not because Caleb asked, but because fear whispered that comfort could be taken away. She cleaned until her hands cracked. She mended until her eyes burned. She carried water, even when her legs shook. Caleb noticed. He always noticed. You do not have to prove anything, he said one evening. Grace kept her eyes on the floor. If I stop, I might lose this. Caleb stepped closer. Lose what? This, she said. The house. The safety. You. The word hung between them. Caleb exhaled slowly. I lost my family once. I will not lose another by letting fear decide. The next morning he rode into town. Grace watched from the porch, holding her sister. The dust followed him like a promise. He returned near sunset, his face tired but determined. I spoke to a lawyer, he said. Filed papers. Temporary guardianship. Grace could not speak. If she comes again, he continued, it will be in front of a judge. Not at this gate. Grace sank onto the step, tears finally breaking free. Not from fear, from relief. That night she slept deeply. The baby curled warm against her, for the first time without listening for footsteps. Days later the letter arrived, a name written in careful ink. Thomas. Caleb stood still when he read it. His son was coming home. Grace watched the strength leave his knees, then return. When Thomas arrived, he saw everything. The clean house, the laughing baby, the girl with old eyes. You saved him, Thomas said quietly. Grace shook her head. We saved each other. That night, the fire burned bright, and for the first time in years. Caleb laughed. The morning of the hearing came cold and bright. Grace held her sister close as they walked into the courthouse. The building felt too big, too heavy, too full of strangers who did not know what it meant to survive. Caleb walked beside her, steady and silent. Thomas followed, carrying papers and hope in equal measure. The woman sat across the room, her eyes sharp, her mouth tight. She did not look at Grace. When Grace was called forward, her legs trembled, but she stood tall, the way she had learned to stand in the snow. Tell us what happened, the judge said. Grace spoke slowly. She spoke of walking, of knocking on doors, of being turned away, of the gate that opened when all others closed. She spoke of work, of care, of warmth, of safety. She spoke of love without ever using the word. When she finished, the room was silent. Caleb spoke next. He did not defend himself. He did not argue blood. He simply told the truth. I opened my door to a child asking for work. She gave me back my life. The judge looked at the woman, then at Grace, then at Caleb. This court rules in favor of the child, he said. Guardianship granted. Grace felt the world shift. Not loudly, not suddenly, but permanently. Outside the courthouse, she cried. Not because she was sad, but because she was free. They returned to the ranch as the sun lowered. The gate stood open, waiting. Caleb stopped beside it. Years ago, he said, I kept this gate closed. I thought it kept pain out. Grace looked up at him. And now I leave it open, he said, because sometimes hope comes walking through. Grace smiled, a real smile, not careful, not small. That night they ate together, not as strangers, Not as guests, but as family. Caleb cleared his throat. Grace. She looked up. If you want, you can call me Pa. Her breath caught. She nodded once. Pa. The fire burned warm. The baby slept safe. And the house held laughter again. One look had changed his heart forever. But one brave child had changed everything.